Hi everyone, my name's Helena, and I will be talking to you today about the... hang on a minute, this isn't on the screen, there we go. About the festival production business and inequality within the executive level of festival management. So, why as an arts manager should you care? How does this affect you? Festivals have become increasingly important to the music industry as a whole, with changes in the way people consume music, piracy and the recession. Live has emerged as one of the few areas that is still managing to do fairly well. As you can see from the figures behind me, 39% of the UK music industry's revenue comes from live performance. This was around 864 million last year. Of this live revenue, 58% is generated by festivals, which is a fair amount, roughly about £500 million, which is boss. Inequality within the festival production, within the production of festivals, is something we should all be concerned with. Festivals are only as good as the team behind them, and greater diversity can breed greater results. A diverse team of people are more likely to bring different ideas to the table and create a more innovative result. It's important that festivals don't become seen as boring or samey, as they are one of the key revenue sources for the industry as a whole, and their continued success is imperative to us all. Also, rather obviously, if you're a woman sat here who wants to work within festival production, this should be of great importance to you. Likewise, if you're a man who wants to work in the industry, you should know the issues surrounding it and what you may have to face when you come to being an employer. I'd just like to do a quick bit of our audience participation. By show of hands, how many of you have been to a festival? By show of hands, how many of you ever worked production of a festival? And of the people that have worked in festival production, how many of you have had a female boss? How many of you have worked at a festival that has a female director? So more than I thought, to be honest, but still a lot less than the majority of the people that have worked there. So I think it's of great importance to clarify the type of festival that I'm talking about, specifically music festivals in the UK, unless otherwise stated, 2-day festivals with an audience figure of at least 30,000 people. I'm going to show a short video now just to illustrate the type of festival I'm talking about. Now, the quality of this is a little bit compromised, but you get the gist. Into the sound. This was meant to have sound. It's quite a nice little video with a nice little song to it, but you get the gist. I can skip on from here anyway. So, I've chosen to focus on the executive level of festival production for what I've deemed the top 15 festivals in the UK, based on audience figures of over 30,000 people. These are Glastonbury, Reading and Leeds, The Big Chill, Latitude, Greenfields, Bee Festival, Tea in the Park, Download, the Isle of Wight, Festival, Sonosphere, Lovebox, Rockness and Glade. And next to each of these are the names of the directors or the production managers for each of the festivals. Of these names, you can see that the two highlighted are the only women. Now, of a list of 12 names representing 15 festivals, this isn't a great deal. The two women that are in question are Emily Evis and Josie DeBank. Now, those of you that even know a small bit about festivals will have recognised the family connections with both of these women. Emily Evis is the daughter of Michael Evis, the founder of Glastonbury, and Josie DeBank is the wife of Rob DeBank, the director of Festival. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the work that these women do at their respective festivals. However, if the only way you can get into festival production as a woman is to be related to the person that started it, who is a male, that is a bit of a worry. So obviously family connections, I don't have any, and I hope I don't need them. In comparison with the men of the festival world, they don't exactly make a diverse bunch themselves. They are nearly all over 40, they're all white, and I know I am focusing this more on sort of the gender roles, but obviously diversity spans across sexual orientation and colour as well, so that is important to keep in mind. Sorry, I've just missed a bit. Also, if you can just direct your attention to the fellow underneath Rob DeBank, that is Melvin Benn, who is one of the directors of Live Nation. Now, he actually manages about 5 of the festivals in question. So, should he leave and be taken over by a woman, it would change the sort of gender split, because there would be, well, at least another woman within it. And obviously, because he manages so many festivals, that would be a greater representation. Although this is a contemporary issue, it is important to keep within context historically. Festivals tend to be ventures that have been embarked upon by entrepreneurs over the years that have grown bigger with time, most obvious of which being Glastonbury and the Isle of Wight. Although the Isle of Wight did stop and was started again by somebody entirely different from the original producers. To put these festivals in context, they started in the 60s and 70s when women were only just starting to take part of the general workforce. It would have been highly unlikely that a woman would start a festival, although Edith's wife did co-run Glastonbury with him for many years but took a backseat when it came to the publicity of the festival. Rave culture in the early 90s, as discussed by Sarah, was a massive effect on festivals. Unfortunately, due to the highly illegal nature and, for the want of a better word, sketchy organisation, it's impossible to see if there were women running these raves. It is likely that there may have been, but there's no concrete evidence that I could find to be sure. These historic factors still affect the business today, as many directors of festivals are still the original founders who are male. As the generation hands over control, we may see changes happening in terms of gender balance. So next I'll be looking at women's roles within live in comparison with other areas of the industry. Live is one of the worst performing areas in terms of top level females, whereas nearly every other area of the industry has at least one figure, if not several, that have achieved an executive level. This is across the board from people like Caroline Ellery at Universal, Kanye King at the Mobos, and Dorothy Byrne at Channel 4. The percentage splits of women and men in general throughout live is also very pronounced, 62.1% of the industry being male and 37.9% female. If you compare the other areas of the industry, sorry, I just need to catch up with myself. If you compare this to the other areas of the industry, you can see the level of disparity not only from each other, but also to other areas of the industry, with only the recording side, i.e. producers and sound techs, being worse with 68% male domination. We can then compare these figures for the entire music industry against other creative industries, and as you can see, only design is worse. So what does that say about live? It's one of the least diverse areas of the music industry, which is one of the least diverse areas of arts in general, which I'm sure you would agree is slightly troubling. I've included this diagram just to illustrate another issue for women who want to go into live events. That is basically the amount of women that want to go into live compared to males. We are going to have to work unpaid a lot more than they do, which is just something that we need to be aware of. With fewer women in the industry already and then the hurdle of unpaid work, is this part of the reason there aren't as many women in the industry? Is it putting women off? Well, looking at the growth of women in the industry from 24% in 2004 to nearly 38% since, it would seem not. However, we need to be aware that to break into the industry, we will have to take these unpaid internships. As we've had a look at the top level of production, I thought we should investigate more into the local side of festivals. I've used Liverpool as an example and looked into who owns or manages the main event production companies and festivals happening in the city. From these findings, it would appear that local level event production is dominated by women within the city. Of the three main companies, both Orb Events and SK Events have women directors and nearly entirely female staff, and Owl Event Management, although it does have a male director, also has an 80% female staff. So why is that local level production is so female dominated and the top level so male dominated? From canvassing the leading females in the city, the main reasons seem to be family and lifestyle related. They would rather work locally, be able to live locally and not have to travel so that they can have a more normal life. Also, it's important to note that this is a case study looking specifically at Liverpool, and the dominance here could be an anomaly compared to other cities. And also, if you note the absence of Sound City in these figures, as its dual role as a conference and a festival sets it apart from the other festivals, that's why I've not included it. However, if you did include it, although it is run by Dave Picciolini, it does have a COO, Becky Ayres, who is a woman. One of the areas that shows the greatest promise is mid-level festivals, i.e. national two-day festivals that have smaller attendance figures and may either be new or establishing themselves at the moment. Katrina Larkin was production manager for Big Chill and has now moved on to Nova Festival, and Fiona Stewart is director of Green Man, which was voted Best Medium-Sized Festival at the UK Festival Awards in 2010. Sheena Jones is known around the industry as Mrs. Creamfield, and both V Festival and Secret Garden Party have huge female presence on their production teams. Just a note about Sheena Jones. Now that Live Nation has taken over Creamfield, I'm not sure of her role. I wasn't able to get hold of her to find out, so I'm just going to go with she still works for them. Having spoken with several people that work in the industry, their opinions were mixed. I would like to say that these people are just a random selection and don't represent the industry as a whole. They're solely speaking from their own personal experience. Interestingly, none of those asked said that they had felt prejudice based on their gender within the industry. Julia Bruns, who runs her own production company, Our Kid Brother, and works as a production manager for several festivals, including Rockness and Creamfields, went so far as to say that she felt the split between men and women on live days was pretty even. However, she did note that most of the women were in lower level roles and director and owner producers tended to be men. This was also picked up by the other women asked. Interestingly, when I put forward the figures of men to women in the industry, many of those asked were shocked and stated that they had never felt any discrimination when working, or that they had worked in an unequal environment. Becky Ayres, COO of Sound City, stated that while she had never felt discriminated against, she did feel that there were roles within live production that were very much viewed as male roles, i.e. production management, stage management, and that there were roles viewed as female roles, i.e. artist liaison assistants. This next little bit, if you could not tweet it, just because it's to do with Liverpool and it might not go down so well. Debbie Boyd also stated that while she hadn't faced discrimination due to gender, there were issues while managing Liverpool Pride based on her sexual orientation, so it is apparent that discrimination can still exist. Debbie is a straight woman managing a gay festival, and there were some people who weren't exactly in love with that fact. So what are the reasons behind this discrimination? Well, the reasons are varied. There are obvious ones that affect all women no matter what job they do. Things like family and time commitments that could limit their career progression. This is exacerbated by festival situations where long hours away from home in a field for weeks at a time are the norm and completely necessary for the role. Weekends are completely dominated by work, and summer holidays with the family are nearly impossible. Also, as pointed out by Julia, who I mentioned earlier, festival production is not a glamorous job. A lot of time it requires being tired, wet, perpetually stressed in a field with no luxuries for weeks, something that many women and men would find hellish. But it is necessary to do these lower jobs to be able to progress to the higher levels, and higher levels of comfort when you're working. I mean, everyone wants to have a nice hotel room. Festival production isn't for everyone. It has its upsides and its downsides. Maybe the bad outweighs the good for a lot of women. I'm now going to show a short video of Alison Wenham from the Women and Music Forum and Chief Exec of AIM talking about diversity in the music business. Well, yeah, you just won't be able to hear her. I'm going to show you the video anyway. This would have to happen to me.
And having been in the industry now for 20 odd years, I regret to say that I think it's no better than it was when I entered it. If anything, I might even go as far as to say I think it might be even a bit worse. My view of it, if I wanted to spend time, is that there's a lot of tribalism in the industry, and that leads to a sort of silo mentality, a sort of bunker mentality. So the blokes tend to stay together, and the blacks tend to stay together, and the women tend to stay together. And that's fine, but it doesn't actually address the problem, which is how do you get everybody to work together and therefore benefit by association? Because we all do bring very different skills. Women think differently to men, and so on. The only way that we're going to crack this, it's not by enforcing positive prejudice. That will never work, and it's an insult to people's intellect. I think what we need to do is to build self-confidence. I think the key to this is self-confidence, and that seems to be such a simple statement. It isn't an easy thing to acquire self-confidence. confidence. And when you're in a bloke's business and you're a woman, you tend to be that bit less self-confident. I think that women in this industry fundamentally lack confidence. I have decided to take this on now, so we're having a women's meeting here. There's going to be some blokes coming on to that, some of my board directors, because I said to them last week, do you have senior women in industry in your companies? I mean, don't you think it's a bit odd that you don't? And to balance it better would to create a much more fertile environment, I think, for people to feed and breed off each other's ideas and different inputs.
Throughout that video, Alison has made some really great points, some of which I'm going to pick up on in a little bit. I just want to talk about where she's talking about confidence in themselves whilst in a male business. While I do think she is right regarding the confidence issue and that it is an issue for women, saying it's a man's business further reinforces the view of the industry not being for women, making possible future managers feel like they can't go there, that it isn't for them. And I think that that's something that we've got to try and shy away from and try and make the business a lot more inclusive and stop putting these labels on it. Entrepreneurship is a huge part of the imbalance with the industry. Studies undertaken by the British Psychological Society show that females were more than twice as likely to be wary and almost twice as likely to be prudent than their male counterparts. This was concluded from their research that risk-taking must be predisposed based on gender. With this in mind, it would correlate that women would be more cautious when it comes to starting new festivals themselves due to the massive financial implications should it fail. This is not to say that women can't manage festivals well, instead that few would be willing to take the risk of starting something from scratch themselves. Actually, these traits, whilst working for someone else, can make an excellent production manager in terms of health and safety, scheduling, the actual physics of running it. Ambition is a big part of it as well. There is the question, are women less ambitious than men? Forbes magazine article Busting the Myth states that there are negative connotations for women surrounding ambition, and that women who are ambitious are reluctant to admit it, are reluctant to describe themselves as such because they fear it will make them appear arrogant, power-hungry, self-absorbed, with a win-at-all-cost mentality. Unfortunately, their fears are well-founded. Success and likability are positively correlated in men and negatively correlated in women. This is demonstrated in the Heidi versus Howard Rosenstein study at Columbia University. This is something that we as arts managers must endeavour to change as we go into the world of work. Everyone in this room is ambitious, or else we wouldn't be here. It's important for us to recognise this ambition in each other and support it, not find fault or feel threatened by it. Above all, I think the reason for the lack of women at the very top at this time is the time that we are in. We are in a stage now where the lower levels and mid-levels of festival management are seeing an emergence of women managers. The growth of women in live has gone from 26% in 2004 to 37.9% this year, which is like a massive leap. Give the industry another 8 or 10 years and it's practically inevitable that there will be at least one female top director. It's important for our generation to help push this through. The generation of managers above us has helped to make these changes and we need to expand upon them. So how do we do that? How do we better the situation? There are a wide range of tools available to us to help the situation. Forums being a massive one of them. Now, there's a Women in Music forum, there's a Music Managers forum, there's Music Publishers forums. However, there's no central forum for women in live. There's no central forum for people in live generally. This would be great as a tool to meet, discuss ideas, discuss any issues that you've come across and how to combat them. I'm surprised really that there isn't one, to be honest. There have been some strides made in the past year. The Equality and Diversity Charter put forward by Women in Music and the Alliance for Diversity in Music and Media is a massive one. The Charter encourages businesses to recruit from a wide talent pool, improve equality and diversity at senior decision-making levels, identify talented individuals and help them to progress in their careers at all levels of the industry, including participation on boards, in senior management and as business owners. It's important that we encourage any business we work for to sign up to the Charter, or if we start our own businesses, sign up to it ourselves. I think another area that could be greatly improved upon within live is mentoring and networking. especially the top level of festival management, it's quite secretive. Like trying to find out some of the names of the women that I've talked about today was nearly impossible. You can't hardly find out who the directors of festivals are. It's very hard as somebody who's trying to break into the industry to find out who you need to speak to. If we had greater networking and mentoring set up, then it would increase the want of people to get into the industry, because if you feel like you don't even know where to go, then you're probably more likely to go to something that's slightly easier. Positive discrimination that Alison talked about. Now, I'm completely against this. I don't really think it'd work in live events, just generally due to the nature of it. It's a very freelance sort of based job role, and I don't really know how they'd implement it. Also, as a woman, if I found out that I got my job because I was a woman, I'd feel like I didn't deserve it. Likewise, if you found out a woman that I was working with got her job over a man who was better than her because she's a woman, I'd probably lose some respect for her. And in live events, you need to be sort of the best that you can be, and if that person isn't, then it's a bit of a worry. I think we need to be ambitious and strive to get these roles to act as role models for future generations. Above all, the main thing that will help get women in great roles is being the best at your job and having confidence in yourself and your abilities. Same goes for everyone in this room. Be it an artist manager or a theatre producer, male or female, competency is the key to success. Thanks everyone. Any
questions for Helena? Just.
The feeling from the Twitter stream now, just following that and my own thoughts, is it not got to the point where it's equal opportunity for everyone, and surely maybe just more men want to be involved in it?
The question is, has it got to the point where we live in an equal opportunity society? Is it just that more men want to get involved in festival management and women don't?
I mean, I can't speak for everyone. I can only really speak from my own personal experience. The people that I know that want to get into festival production seem to be more women than men, and also the people that I know that work within the industry are more women than men. I don't know whether that's just because of the people that I've come across, or whether that's reflected in the industry. When I did speak to the people that I know that work in the industry, they said they felt it was, on the actual live days, it was a 50-50 split. I think now the people that are coming through into the industry, it is probably more equal who wants to be there, but the people that run the festivals at the moment are 40-50-year-old men. So in their generation, I'm sure it was a lot more men than women. So I think there is a change, and that's what I was talking about when I said about time, the change in time now that there are more women. That's kind of what I mean.
There were lots of women in my generation too. You Dash.
Have you thought of a more positive way to redress the balance? Because affirmative action programs typically don't work.
Well, that's what I was saying. I said I don't think we should have them. I think that better communication is the key, and our generation making sure that we are ambitious and trying to strive to get those roles instead of, I mean, it's very hard for women because there are the obvious things of like wanting to have a family and all of that kind of thing, that men, although they can have families, they don't fulfill the same roles within it. So we have to try and work out how we can do both, have a family, work at the jobs that we want to, and get ourselves to where we need to be.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
Sorry, Carlos.
I just thinking about this issue. Do you think that maybe promoting the entrepreneurship of women in the industry would be a much more efficient solution?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. There's actually two of my friends who have set up something in Liverpool that they're trying at the moment to target women who want to work in the arts industry specifically, to try and set up their own businesses. Because I do think that women are a bit more pragmatic about things than men, and kind of look at the situation from all angles and kind of freak themselves out in a way. Like, I've done that myself. Like, I don't want to set up my own business because I've second-guessed myself so much that I don't think I could do it, when actually I probably could. And I think that encouraging more women to do it is a massive thing.
Okay. Last question. Go ahead, Phil.
And do you think that perhaps the first step of sort of getting over the problem with it would be actually ignoring it altogether, ignoring that there is a problem there? Because by addressing that there is something there, does that not help? Does that not sort of create more of a division?
So So Callum's question is, does trying to address this actually bring more attention on it and create more of a problem, more of a division, and we are more aware of gender issues because we brought up gender issues?
Yeah, I mean, possibly, but kind of if you look at it metaphorically, if you ignored the civil rights movement, if they didn't do anything, then it might have got better. So you have to talk about these kinds of things. I think the important thing is not to be militant and ram it down people's throats. Make positive changes within the industry. If people don't want to listen to it, then they don't have to. They don't have to be part of the forums. But just try and make it as positive as you can, whilst drawing attention to it.
Okay, thank you very much.